Welcome back to the Scattered Sheep Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Wade. It is September 26th. So, for today's episode, this is going to be a short video, I think. We're going to go back to Southern California, Shane Idleman's church. Shane Idleman, for those who don't know, is a NAR Dominionist MAGA pastor. He'll deny that, but that's what he is. He used to be much more respected as a expositor. And he still has, moments of good content. He does some work on fasting and health, which is very important. But his politics so blind him that he can't see his own idolatry when it comes to this. What dragged him into this world was COVID. During COVID, he kind of got hit upside the head with a MAGA stick. And he stuck his thumb in the eye of authority and reopened his church. As many NAR Dominionist pastors did back then. I believe one of the first ones to do it was Rodney Howard-Browne. And to me, if you're in bed with Rodney Howard-Browne, maybe you need to look at your position. But people couldn't. Even John MacArthur couldn't. John MacArthur stuck his thumb in the eye of authority too, reopened his church during the middle of a worldwide plague. And this is the result of an idolatrous church and the age of social media where nobody stays in their lane, right? So it's like, if I wanted to know the exposition of like Hebrews 11, I might ask Shane Idleman. I think that he could probably provide biblical insight. But if I want advice on how to best behave during a worldwide pandemic, he's the last person I'd ask because he has no idea what he's talking about. What it comes down to is these churches were raised under Rick Warren's purpose-driven church model. They are overextended financially, and they require the hour and a half on Sunday in order to collect tithes. Without that, they can't function. They can't pay their bills. They have to shut down. That's what the reality of what happened during COVID is these churches realized that they couldn't pay the bills. And they didn't know how to be pastors. Otherwise, they didn't there's plenty of churches that stayed as churches during COVID and didn't violate Romans 13, right? They did virtual services, virtual messages. They still did community outreach. They still were able and allowed to get together or to gather, just not in excessive numbers. But none of that matters when you have a model that can't be financially supported based upon, without that hour and a half on Sunday, which, by the way, is not the church. The church is not the hour and a half where you sing 4 self-obsessed songs, a 20-minute sermonette that, extols your virtues, and then an offering. That's not church. It's not even God's design for church. And I'm not speaking against collective worship. I think it's extremely important. I think community is extremely important as a believer. I think that the devil is the one who wants you isolated. I get that. But COVID presented certain challenges that we hadn't seen since the Spanish flu. And the churches needed to follow the best advice that the government and health experts were providing at the time. Was it perfect? No. But it's easy to sit there 5 years after the fact and pretend that you knew all the answers back then, but you didn't. And it's really insulting because 7 million people died. So this wasn't like the way it's being portrayed by the right and their useful idiots in the NAR. And every time that they kind of mock what happened, they're literally spitting on the graves of 7 million people. And people like Shane or even John MacArthur or Rodney Howard-Browne, they don't know how many people they fed into the COVID wood chipper by making them come back together and basically pass this disease off to each other. And I'm always reminded of the lesson from Lawrence Sanford. Lawrence Sanford was a pretty popular pastor, and he also stuck his thumb in the eye of authority and opened his church too early, and then he bragged. He said, "Nobody in my church has COVID, so I don't know what the problem is." And then like a month later, everybody in this church had COVID. And then Lawrence Sanford had COVID. And then Lawrence Sanford died from COVID. And nobody seems to learn those lessons, and nobody ever seems to want to talk about that. Or the pastor from Virginia or somewhere on the East Coast who, like, in the middle of COVID, traveled down to New Orleans to, like, basically mock the sinners. And he contracted COVID, and he died on the way home. Nobody ever wants to talk about that, right? Everybody just wants to say, the lefty government, and it wasn't a lefty government, I might add. It was Donald Trump's first term. Either way, this episode, apparently, for some reason, Shane thought it was a good idea to, like, put his entire family on a panel and take questions from, I guess, his church. And, I'm not going to review this entire thing, but there was an important moment that Shane actually highlighted on his page. He's like, forward to the 12-minute mark and see this fantastic answer. So I did. And it's not fantastic. It's obscene. And it displays the utter depravity of this position, of this grandiose, I'm fighting for, godly values when you're not. And you no longer, as a pro-life culture, actually care about life. So it's an interesting question that Shane and his wife answer. And then we're just going to stay long enough because then they essentially toss the question to their daughters about whether they're prepared for their father to be martyred. And the kids can't even answer the question. They shouldn't have been put in a position. It's like borderline child abuse, to put them on a platform in front of a whole bunch of people they don't know and, like, ask them, like, are you ready for dad to die? And, I think it's somewhat important to see the reaction and to understand, again, the mindset that's going on, the pure idolatry of the NAR and how it's infected. So we're going to just skip to the 12-minute mark and entertain the question.
Okay. Came in with your dad being as outspoken as he is. Are you fearful that something like what happened to Charlie Kirk would happen to him?
Yeah, and again, this obsession and idolatry around Charlie Kirk is obviously the more recent problem within the NAR. Charlie Kirk did not die for his faith. Charlie Kirk died because he was a political provocateur and took very controversial positions when it comes to politics. But he didn't die for his faith.
So I'll answer, and you guys can answer if you want. For me, it crosses my mind, like it's the reality that we live in. So we've talked about it. We've prepared them, especially 5 years ago when we stayed open for COVID and the world was going crazy. And so we had to have discussions like that.
Right. And again, they almost wistfully look back to that time. They view their decision to violate Romans 13, to disagree with the governing authorities, and to keep their church open, regardless of the impact it might have on the health of the sheep that have been entrusted to them. And they look back on it almost like joyfully, like, oh, that was such a great time for, that displayed our courage. It's not courage to essentially assign other people that you really don't know and have been entrusted to potentially dying.
So it crosses my mind, but like for me personally, I just refuse to live in fear. Like I just won't do it. So I start to, think about it and get a little fear. It's like, no, you don't get to win. I'm not gonna.
You don't get to win, and that like this is a game.
We each have as many days as we're going to have. It's already been determined. So what's the point in wasting time being fearful and worried?
And it's when we actually had lunch with Rob McCoy and his wife 3 years ago, and she said something that
was so good.
Yeah. Do you want to say it, Ross?
Yeah. She said, I'd rather be a widow than married to a coward.
Wow.
Did you catch it? The point that they're all celebrating, and the crowd is erupting in applause, is I'd rather be a widow than married to a coward. From the pro-life position, right? So unless you're willing to stand up and stick your thumb in the eye of authority and basically bash the other side that you don't agree with politically, you're deemed a coward, and she would rather have you dead than married to her. I don't know. I don't know. Like, by all means, leave your comments in the comment section if you think like I'm overreacting, but that's a pretty stupid comment, and it's a pretty revealing comment about how far gone you are idolatry wise, that you think it'd be better that your husband is dead than not politically active. It's frightening. But then what's worse is they put their kids on the spot and ask them.
Yeah, I say, can you repeat that? But isn't that true?
No.
You know, wow, unbelievable. Oh, yeah. So you're going to ask the kids? Kylie, how about you? Gracie, you've talked about, I mean, we know that's a possibility that dad could die for his faith. You know, we talked about.
Wow. Just to put your kids on the spot like that. You know that we've talked about that, right? That I could die from my faith, that you lose your father, right? And what he's trying to do, obviously, is elicit some kind of a similar response that his wife just had, which is like, you know, we'd rather not have a dad than have a dad who's a coward.
Especially because the bolder you are, the more you upset the demonic. I mean,
yeah. And that's it's an intellectually lazy, it's a spiritual lazy position to sit there and say anything that disagrees with my bias, my political bias, which I'm pretending is spiritual, that must be demonic.
If you're kind of low key and you're not wanting to upset, nobody's gonna. But when you start to, challenge that lifestyle and the sin out there, you people, they literally hate you. I've seen it. It's pretty bad.
Woe is me.
So you guys kind of prepared for that, hoping it doesn't happen, but Shane, Gracie? No? Okay. That was easy.
That was easy? That was brutal. That was absolutely brutal. That you put your kids on the spot like that to publicly talk about the possibility of their father being killed. And obviously they were all uncomfortable with it. They all just kind of looked at each other like, I can't believe he's asking us this. Like, what did you want them to say? Did you want them to say something as ridiculous that your wife just said? That Mr. McCoy's wife must have told her, I think it was the story, that, I'd rather be a widow than married to a coward. Listen, I don't know why Shane thought this was a good idea. It's bad enough that you want to drag your wife into your idolatry, but to drag your kids into it too. I just don't get it. I don't get it. It is not a courageous position to basically try to martyr yourself before your own death, to try to create this air that, like, I'm so spiritual and I am so holy that I have to prepare my family for the chance that I might get killed for my faith. You live in America. You don't live in Iran. If you want to do something, by the way, about all the political violence and lives being taken like Charlie Kirk's way too young, do something about guns. Do something about guns. Leave the sinners, in your mind, no other alternative than maybe to throw rocks at somebody. I just, by all means, please leave your comments in the comment section. But I found this to be, and the fact that he was bragging about it, like on his Facebook page, he's like, forward to the 12-minute mark for this fantastic, comment. That my wife would rather have me dead than be a coward. Test everything and hold fast.